I want to know, Ed, because I've been fascinated. What did you actually start recording and mixing on originally? Like your first DAW.
My first DAW.
We're going there.
Wow, donkeys years ago. I started using, it was a version of Logic. It was Logic Express 8 many moons ago. And this is when Logic Express 8, it was actually quite old at the point of me using it, which was, I think, 2013. And that was simply because that's what was just what was given to us by our school.
Yeah.
Me. That was what was given to us by our school. And from there, I went on to use Logic Pro 9, which I seem to remember looking similarly to Express 8. I didn't really have that. I mean, I was only must have been only 13 at the time. I'd just started my music tech BTEC.
Was it at the Croydon College?
No.
Where was this? Somewhere else?
This was at Haberdashers' Aske's Knights Academy. In
repping it. Shout out.
No.
Don't shout it out.
Don't shout it out.
Don't shout it out.
Yeah, I went over Logic Pro 9. We used that up until I was in year 11. And the transition period between Logic Pro 9, I don't know if you've ever used it, to Logic X.
I've never used Logic Pro 9.
There's a vast difference.
Does it look completely different?
It's like using a really old version of Windows compared to now. The layout is different. It's a lot more easier to set things up, and a lot of the settings were the same when in Logic Pro X, and there was many new features actually. But obviously now Logic Pro X has had so many things added to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started on Logic Express 8, and
have you just used Logic, or have you used? Because
I have just used Logic. Well, I have looked at GarageBand.
Because GarageBand is what I started on, and it looks completely different to what it is now. Because GarageBand now is just a light version of Logic Pro. But GarageBand before had the most lacking features ever. It was really good for what I needed it for, but now thinking about it, it wasn't great knowing that you've got all this stuff in Logic Pro. But now if you're using GarageBand and I don't know what update they're on, I don't know, but it is sort of similar, and it has like some of the features that it's got, which for people wanting to learn is good. But for me, I want to get into this because I think it's a very interesting subject matter, because I have this ongoing thing with Ed about Logic and Pro Tools, and I hate Pro Tools. Do you hate Pro Tools, or do you get annoyed when I say that I hate Pro Tools? Or do you like it?
I get annoyed at the fact that no one uses Pro Tools.
Okay, why do you think no one uses Pro Tools?
Because Pro Tools looks very dominating, looks quite scary, and is quite overwhelming to get to grips with, and you need to know about 5 million key commands to actually use it. And all of the key commands, they're not at all same with the ones in Logic. And since everyone has learned on Logic or one of those other less reputable DAWs like Reaper or Cubase, I don't know if that's still being used.
Cubase, yeah, you say less reputable. Cubase people use for composing. Like, I know that Hans Zimmer uses like Cubase.
Hans Zimmer
uses Cubase, which I found weird.
Who's Hans Zimmer?
He's done Inception. He's done literally every single time you watch a film, the music, Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer. He does everything.
He made it all in Cubase.
Pretty much, yeah. Don't state me on that fact, but I know that he said that he uses Cubase.
Nice.
But I think why people used to use Pro Tools was because of the recording studios that they had,
Yeah.
like massive desks, like 24 channel desks and blooming things that we had at uni, which, for goodness sake, no one's going to be using at the moment, because even in these studios, we don't have that. So I think for people using Pro Tools is very old school, in my opinion.
Well, you have to understand that Pro Tools came around in 1989. It was called something
year before
different.
I was born.
Yep, Hollie is 30.
Thank you. I can't remember what it was called. Something or other.
Sound tool,
yeah,
sound something.
Sound Tools. Was it Sound Tools? It must have been Sound Tools. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Anyway, when it came around, it was really, really fucking basic. It's really basic.
It's like, I've just sworn. It's okay, swear away. Oh, God, I've sworn. Oh, no, just
Mum
tell
might
me
tell
off.
me off.
Becca's not here, it's fine, she won't tell you off.
Yeah, when it came out on the Mac 2, and you had to get an additional expansion card, which gave you 2-channel recording. The software that came with it, you could only, to my knowledge, from what I remember from researching about the program, you could record 2 mono tracks, and you were able to do simple audio editing, and that's pretty much all you could do. 2-channel. So it's useless. What would you do with that? But then later on...
A vocal.
Yeah.
And a clap.
Well...
Maybe.
It was horribly expensive, and it wasn't really worth the money. And perhaps if you had a certain purpose, but then getting that digital recording and then turning it into an analog recording, which is what was predominantly used in the late 80s, it's mind-blowing to me. And then finally Pro Tools became Pro Tools, and they adopted MIDI sequencing, which is fantastic. And obviously in the early 90s, computers became more independent. Technology in computers developed so much in the early 90s.
We did the reason why we know all this is because we did a project on it recently. So
yeah, I did a project about it, and I still got a crap mark, didn't I?
Did you?
I did get a crap mark, and I learned all about Pro Tools and Logic and how that came around and computers, and I got 45%.
Oh, I didn't think you wanted to share your mark, but you've shared it now, so
it's all right. Standard
wear and tear. What have you done there? Let's talk. Oh dear. Let's talk. What's your favourite session that we've had so far? Because we've actually done quite a lot.
We've done many sessions together, you and I, Hollie. I'd say the best session that I've had, or I've had the pleasure in taking part of, was the one that we done very recently.
Because I know that you like to just use, and Ed takes the piss out of me, because I always say, I've got this new plugin, and he doesn't like when I say, he's like, oh, okay, fine.
What X and Y.
But they do enhance it. They do enhance the mix, instead of just the basic Logic things. They do. I swear they do. It's much better. Like when we recorded George. Do you remember George?
That made him sound so... Oh, yes.
Yeah, George!
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guitarist.
No, George. No. When we recorded George.
Oh, yes,
and
he sounded fantastic.
He was good. And we put like, I can't remember it, Chris Lord Alge, I think his name is. There's... Thank you. We're going to have to take a lot of outtakes on this. When we recorded George, we used the I think it's vocal, something or other. But that has like plugin has like delay in it. It has reverb, and it has everything in it. And I prefer that. And then you can just sort of mix it in. So when you're listening to it, you can just add and take things away instead of doing. I'm trying to sell it, and he's like not having it, but it does. It makes it sound better.
It's really interesting. I'm sure I've. What is the name of this plugin?
I know it's called Chris Lord Algae Vocal Plugin. Cannot remember the call. I will put it somewhere. It is really good, and it's from Waves, the Waves plugin.
Oh, that's all you need to be.
Just sign up to the Waves plugin. Yeah, and they'll help you.
Don't bother spending or having to pay back in debt over £9,000.
You
Just
should
buy the Waves plugins.
Well, you should, but also it helps you mix and it enhances your mix. Do you use any other plugins but Logic plugins?
Well, honestly,
yes.
Well,
do you?
You know very well that my laptop doesn't like having external plugins being installed on it because it just crashes and doesn't work. There is something wrong with my genuine copy of Logic Pro 10.
I do think that you should get something fixed.
I should get something fixed, but I've been holding it off for quite a while. Just very nervous about it.
Oh.
But
you don't. So you don't use them. But is there a reason why? Is it just simply because of the laptop situation?
It's simply because of the laptop situation. If it wasn't for the laptop situation, I would have the Waves plugins, and I would be using the Q equalizer or Q Pro equalizer, whatever comes with the Waves pack. It took me over a year to sort out my laptop being slow, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
So
I mean, I only use the select ones. I mean, I don't use all of them. I don't have I can see that one of our lecturers has freaking millions of freaking things that he's got just so many, and you're thinking to yourself, how on earth do you have the time to go through all of these plugins?
Well, the problem is, Holly, is that you have to. I've put it off because I'm due another Mac anyway. I need to get another one because I can't be dealing with this shit anymore.
You do need another one. It is getting a bit much.
Because the glass is broken off it, so I need to. But you have to go through this long process of installing Logic. You have to install all the plugins, make sure that all the built-in plugins are there, and then you have to configure all the plugins. You have to download all the utilities for each pack. Sometimes you have issues where the gen lock or whatever it's called, the key gen
iLock.
thing, iLock. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Doesn't activate. And then you have to go faff around with accounts. Do you remember that plugin I tried to download from that website? It just never worked.
See, this is what I don't like. I don't like free plug. Yeah, because on here, on my Logic, every single time you open it up, because obviously I say I'll just ignore it. It just won't go away. And I've gone in the plugin manager and it won't go away.
Holly, just ignore it.
Don't download free plugins.
Sticks and stones.
Don't do it.
Break your bones, but
Also,
words will never hurt you.
Thank you for that information. Yeah. There's another question that I've got to ask you. You're very technical minded. Okay, that's not the question.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. Hang on.
That's not a question.
No, I know. You're very
technical. That's a statement.
Yes. You're very technical minded. So.
Technically.
Technically.
I'm technically technical minded.
I find it annoying. Do you find it annoying when people talk, you should drop a certain frequency in EQ. You should, and it's like, you should drop the 300 from dB. And blah, 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 blah. I find it annoying because I like to just listen to it and see what I can adjust and take out and put in.
Well, it really depends. It's common knowledge, isn't it? Like some people are thick, and they have to be told.
Say it like it is.
some people as thick as a urethra.
table or something. Yes, we know.
And some people just have to be told what the difference is between low end and sub low end frequencies, and how if those frequencies aren't actually being used on the audio that you've just recorded, you need to do low cuts on them. People don't understand that, and sometimes people criticize that. But for us normal people, I mean, we know that.
Oh dear. Okay, let's wrap things up.
Oh.
No, we haven't finished yet. That's why I was saying let's wrap things up. So, mixing. Your mic has just dropped. So mixing, you do Logic.
Shit, this is broken. Yeah.
Mixing, you do Logic. And mixing as you go when you're doing it with clients and stuff.
Well, mixing as you go is it's broad.
Sometimes. Not doing a whole entire mix when your client's sitting there, because that's ridiculous. But tiny fixes.
And it's best to always not rush your mix either. And don't just think putting a plug-in on something will instantly make your track sound good.
Good bit of advice.
Follow my 3-point plan.
Okay, there's Ed. This is. Hang on a minute. I've got to do one of these. Let's find an appropriate thing. That's not it. That's it. Hang on. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ed's 3-point plan.
3-point plan. My 3-point plan is, before you do anything, make sure the gain does not clip going into the audio interface. Add an EQ once you create your track. It's important to add the EQ before the compressor, because if you put the compressor first, then that's just fucking stupid, because then you're going to be the compressor cuts. It cuts. You don't want it to do that yet. You want to EQ the sound first to get rid of the frequencies that you don't want. And then you add a compressor. That's free. That's the third one. Go for a FET, because you want something that's quite snappy. It's gonna the sound is going to be quite raw. It's going to be quite raw. You want to cut those clippy, distorted sounds. I'd also suggest always...
So hang on a minute. So you've got more than 3.
No.
So
I'm going back to...
included. So hang on a minute.
No,
You've gone back to 2. All right. Go back to 2. Go back to 2.
Back to point 2. When was it? Because I've just remembered.
Right.
When you're EQing, if you're recording a synthesizer that you know does not have any bass frequencies, anything that's around 200 to 300 hertz, get rid of it. You don't need it. You don't need it there. It's just taking up room. You need more dynamics. More dynamic space in the mix. And...
He's passionate.
And... point 4.
So there's 4 points.
There's 4 points.
So 1, 2, 3, 2, 4.
Yep. There's the 4th point is when you are recording, make sure... No, that's point 1 again. Never mind. My 3-point plan.
Okay. So can you clarify what the 3 points are?
I've really
No,
cocked that
hang on
up,
a minute.
didn't I?
Hang on a minute. So the information you gave was good, right? But what are the 3 points? So what's the first one? Gain.
Point
Clipping.
1, gain.
Clipping.
You don't want the raw audio to clip going into the audio interface.
Right.
If it clips going into the audio interface, it's going to sound absolutely shit coming
And
out
there's
of
nothing you can do about
There's
it,
nothing
and
you can do
you
about
can't
it.
mix that.
No, you can't.
You cannot.
Because it would just sound like something produced in GarageBand. Yeah.
Yep. So point 2
Point 2
is your EQ.
You add the EQ before a compressor. it's important to always have an EQ on a track, so you can distinguish and cut the frequencies that are not being used in that particular track. So if you were recording a synthesizer from the 80s, that's quite mid and high based, rather than not having any low or sub low frequencies or sub bass frequencies. Cut it all.
So the third one, FET compressor.
Yes.
I'm very good at remembering.
Using a FET compressor. You have to use a FET compressor. I suggest it anyway. I mean, you can do what you like. But using a FET compressor, it's a lot more punchy. You can also use a pulse width modulation type of compressor, but I'd say a FET, because you want to compress that sound, especially on things like snares, drum kits, or anything that's anything like a guitar or something, anything that has resonant frequencies that you want to cut. You want to quite. You want
so
to have quite a
I
punchy
think
sound.
we're going to make this a annual thing of you giving your points, because they're amazing. I can't remember what one it was. Was it third one?
No.
Was it that one?
That one.
Is that no? It's that one. Sorry, we're just playing around. Okay. Hang on. So that was Ed's 3-point plan.
Ed's 3-point plan.
So Ed, thank you for joining us. Well, you work here, so it's fine. So
Thanks, Holly.
that's all right, no problem. So next week we have, we're talking about. What are we talking about? Hang on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Who
hang
have you got booked in, Holly?
on. Next week we're talking about composers in film and television and stuff. No, sweetheart, we do.
Who?
It's called
Anyone
The
good?
Guest. Oh my gosh, seriously. Right. So join us next time for some more fun facts and entertainment from us.
Join us next time as we interview a composer.
Okay, thank you.